Cody Bellinger back to the Cubs. It was pretty obvious, right? Pretty obvious from the get-go that he's probably going to go back to the Cubs. Well, I wouldn't say obvious. In the very beginning of the offseason, we had teams like the Giants. We had the Blue Jays coming up at some points where you figured, hey, okay, he'd be a great fit for the San Francisco Giants. They needed a bat. They could, use something in center field. Ended up going with Jung-Hoo Lee, which I did like that signing. I've said that multiple times, and that gives them something at the top of their order, but they still lacked that impact bat, so I figured maybe there could be a chance where Cody Bellinger could still find his way there, but in the end, no, that didn't happen. Jorge Soler ended up going there, so there was their impact bat, which, hey, I like what the Giants did this offseason. I think they've had a pretty decent offseason. And then the Blue Jays, right? They were a big possibility there for a little while. But then they brought back Kevin Kiermaier. You bring in Justin Turner, who, he's going to be taking, obviously, a lot of the at-bats. So where did Bellinger really fit in that situation? Could you have made it work? Kiermaier maybe be the fourth outfielder? I don't know. It seemed a little, I don't know. It felt like the fit wasn't quite there. So really the only team that was left were the Cubs. I mean, sure, could you have maybe done something with the Angels, but the Angels, as of late, we've been hearing reports that, they're not quite sure what to do with money at this point. Do they want to spend? Do they not want to spend? I don't know. So it seems like the Angels, they were pretty much the only other team. You had teams that, sure, definitely could have used Cody Bellinger. Like the Padres would have been a good fit, but they don't got the money, or they don't want to spend the money for someone like Cody Bellinger. So going back to the Cubs was pretty much the most obvious thing. But in the end, ended up going back on basically a pillow kind of a contract. And in case you don't know what a pillow contract is, funny enough, this term actually came up with Adrian Beltre with my Red Sox when he went there for a one-year deal. He ended up having 5 pretty average seasons with the Mariners, right? He was dynamite with the Dodgers, and he got a big contract back then with the Mariners, and he was pretty average for the most part. Wasn't really anything spectacular. Then he went to the Red Sox, broke out there, man. He really got himself back on track, had a really fun season that year. People still talk about that Adrian Beltre Red Sox season. It was that much fun. But that was the one-year deal, the pillow contract, where if you go back to 2010, Gordon Eads was writing for ESPN at the time. He described as a pillow contract. It's basically you lay down, it's comfortable. When you wake up in the morning, it's soft, it's there, but it's not there with you all the time. That's a one-year contract. It's a pillow. You use it for a little bit, and you go on. Scott Boras always just has such a way with words. He always has his analogies for things, right? So just in case anyone wanted to know where the term pillow contract came from, that's where it came from. So, but with this deal, now if we go to the Cubs payroll, as of right now, of course, my computer, everyone, we should be getting the computer tomorrow. Tomorrow, the new computer is coming in, got it custom built. I'm pretty excited. It's got the flashy lights where you can see through it and stuff. You're probably not gonna be able to see it because I always keep it under my desk, but just letting you know. Hopefully a quicker experience here. But as you can see with Cody Bellinger, he has an opt-out after 2024 and after 2025. I would imagine at least he is going to opt out after 2025. I could very well see him staying for 2 years and then opting out in 26, because as you can see here, the salary, he got a pretty nice salary for a couple of years, $30 million, whereas baseball trade values for a 3-year deal, baseball trade values, which they have been extremely accurate this offseason, they were projecting around $22 million per year on a 3-year deal. Now, they're factoring in when it comes to the projections that baseball trade values has when it comes to the contracts, they look at the track record, right? And Cody Bellinger's track record has not been amazing. So they're just using simple math and spitting out a value, right? Cody Bellinger's case is a little bit different, right? He had 3 pretty down years with the Dodgers, had a lot of injuries there, numbers were down, went to the Cubs, had a great season last year. So those 3 seasons prior were affecting his value. And if you actually take a look here at his advanced metrics, there were some good, but there were some that were a little, is worrisome the right word? Something to keep an eye on at least, right? Where the expected batting average still ranked well, but the exit velocities weren't great. The barrels weren't great. The hard hit percentage wasn't great. Even while getting a lot of sweet spot on the bat, right? So he's getting good sweet spot, but he's not producing a lot of exit velocity, right? So something to keep an eye on. My guess personally is, you got to remember, this guy had his injuries, right? He had stuff going on with the shoulder, the leg, just everything, right? So everything was getting thrown off with his mechanics. He was up and down. That's never going to be good for a position player. Then he finally got himself back on track with the mechanics, right? Had a normal offseason, went to the Cubs. Everything seemed to be back on track, obviously looking at the numbers. So I wonder, now that he's gotten another season under his belt, a good season under his belt, I wonder if maybe the strength can start coming along with it, right? Everything's back in tune. Everything, all the nuts and bolts are tightened now, and now you can just start adding some power, right? So I wonder if that's what this is, because as you can see, he was still pretty good when it came to not striking out, so still showing a pretty good eye. You probably could see a bit more on the walks and not as much on the chase. I would like to think Bellinger is going to be fine. I think he's going to be still a productive player. Will he match these numbers for this coming season? Not quite sure. If we go take a look at his value from last year, funny enough, he gets $30 million for this coming year. And if you take a look at his value from last season, right around $33 million in field value last season. So something to keep in mind there, right around what he ended up getting. But with Cody Bellinger, the projections, Fangraphs, they're not being very kind with him when it comes to his projections. And again, when it comes to the projections, the guys that are coming up with these numbers, they are looking at track record. They are looking at the advanced metrics. But Bellinger's case is a little bit different, like I said, because he had all those injuries, right? And he was a very good player prior to, having that huge slump that he did. All right, and then he got back to doing what he was doing. So I think with these projections here, which he had a 4.1 Fangraph WAR this past season, they're only projecting a 2.2, which that's a pretty big drop-off right there. They're seeing a lot less with the slugging, a lot less with the on-base, a couple less on the home runs. Honestly, I think he's going to beat these numbers. I think like I said, I think Bellinger's case is a little different, right? Just because he had the injuries, right? The ups and downs. So I think he's still going to be a good player. That's just what I think personally. So, but again, with the contract, I think it's a good contract for both sides. Like really, when you kind of just think about it from both angles. Bellinger, again, a projected contract for him was anywhere for 3 years was anywhere from 21 to 22 million. So he beat that, right? So there's his win, and that's a win for Boris as well, because don't forget, Boris gets a cut of that check, right? So he gets a little bit more out of it too. But for the Cubs, they're not necessarily tied down, right? I do think Bellinger is going to end up staying there for a couple of years, because that's pretty good money. Unless he has just an amazing season in 2024, where he puts up like $40 to $50 million in field value, that I could see him going back out into the open market. Honestly, though, I think he's going to be maybe a little less, right? If you want to play safe, maybe he ends up being like a 3.5 to a 4.0 Fangraph WAR kind of a guy. And in that case, I think he ends up staying, right? Because we just saw the field value for this past year was $33 million. So I think he's going to end up being around there. So I think he ends up staying for 2024 and 2025. 2026, though, if he keeps doing what he's been doing, I highly doubt he opts in for that 2026 season, considering his salary drops $10 million. So, and he's only 28 years old as of right now. So he'll be 30 years old after 2025. So I think you're going to see Bellinger as a free agent in a couple of years. That's what I think personally. So now let's talk about the Chicago Cubs, right? Hey, this is good for the Cubs. The Cubs, Sure, you bring in Shota Imanaga. Okay, that's fine. That's a decent upgrade for the middle of the rotation. I think that's fine, right? But you didn't really do much else. There wasn't really a whole lot else. You brought in Michael Busch. Okay, that's fine. I do like that move for them. He's going to play some first base. He can probably play some other positions for them as well at some points. But Bellinger was your big bat. And I think we all can agree here that the Cubs, without Bellinger, probably going to take a bit of a step back. So you needed to hang on to him, and hopefully you get some improvement from some other guys on the team that can help the team in general take a step forward for 2024. So overall, are the Cubs done? I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. Could they maybe do something here for this rotation? I don't know. I think they're done offensively. Overall, I think this offense looks pretty good. I love me some Horner, Swanson. I think you can eliminate the possibility of Matt Chapman now. I don't know. And maybe you should still do both. Nick Madrigal as of right now. You got Christopher Morel. So financially, I wonder if the Cubs will make that move. Remember, go back not too long ago, maybe in the last 4 weeks or so, there was a report that the Cubs are looking to make a couple of big moves. All right, so remember that report. I forget who reported that, but I believe there was like an industry speculation or something like that where the Cubs, they were going to make a couple of big moves. So Bellinger's one. Could Chapman be the other? I don't know. I mean, if they got Chapman too, wow, what this is a great looking team. Chapman in that glove, I've said it a million times, that would be fantastic for this Cubs team. Would love that move. Will they do it? It's going to cost you some bucks. Could you maybe do the pillow contract? Maybe you could go there on like a 1-year deal, like a similar deal to Bellinger, like a 3-year. You notice how Boris, he's doing these 3-year pillow contracts. He did the same thing with Correa. So a little different here with Bellinger because Correa, I don't know. I think everyone just assumed Correa was going to go back out in the market, but I don't know, that $30 million for 2025, I don't see Bellinger giving that up, man. Unless he just really wants to get a long-term deal. I don't know, maybe. But I think Chapman would be still a good fit. Will they spend that money? We'll see. Maybe if the contract's right, maybe they could, but we'll see. As for what this could affect for other situations with the Cubs, everyone was looking at Peter Crow Armstrong being the guy for the Chicago Cubs if Bellinger ended up going elsewhere. Well, I think this is good that Bellinger comes back because this gives Peter Crow Armstrong a little bit more time to develop, right? You got people out there that say Peter Crow Armstrong, he could end up being a bust, right? People are wondering that about Peter Crow Armstrong. So I think, I don't know, the numbers look really good to me. We'll see. I've even seen, I've seen someone compare him to Clint Frazier, right? I think I saw that comparison on Twitterland. I don't know. But, I don't know, Peter Crow Armstrong, a lot of upside with him. But in the end, this gives them some more time to kind of bring him along slowly. We'll see. That guy's got blue hair now. I think I saw that. I think he's got blue hair. We got the terrible see-through Fanatics pants. We got Peter Crow Armstrong with blue hair. What the heck is going on right now? Did they fix the pants yet? I don't know. Did they fix the pants? They need to fix those pants. Fix everything. Get rid of Fanatics. My goodness. Good grief. The other thing this affects with the Cubs is Mike Tauchman, right? So he got a lot of playing time last year. I wonder how much playing time he's going to get this year. He put up some decent numbers, decent on base percentage for him last year. He came up with some good moments for them. So we'll see what the playing time looks like for him. We'll see. But overall, I do think this is a good move for the Chicago Cubs and Cody Bellinger because he gets paid. The Cubs aren't tied down. I think it's a win-win for both sides. And the one thing with Scott Boras, and again, look out for the video that I'm going to be coming out with, right? I'm coming out with some good contracts that Scott Boras has worked out. And there's also been some bad ones. And, I don't know. Not looking too pretty for some of these guys that are Scott Boras clients, right? And there's definitely been some bad ones over the even the past few years, right, that have just not worked out. So we'll see. But again, the Cubs, at the very worst, they're tied down for 3 years, right? And I think that's a win. But again, I think he goes back out onto the market in 2025. So let's move on here. Let's move on. Let's see. Are my buttons working? I don't think my buttons are working. All right, hold on. We got to do this manually. Let me actually see really quick. I'm going to try unplugging this thing. Ah, goodness. I can't believe it. This thing has been great for me. I have this little pad, in case anyone wonders, how do I always switch the screens? Well, I got this little pad here. I just push the button and it goes, right? So let's see. Does that work now? Hold on. Let's give it a test run, shall we? Nope, that is not going. Let me see. I got one more idea here. Let's see, because I don't want to have to keep clicking around. This has got to do the trick. It is not doing the trick, everyone. It is not doing the trick. I don't know what happened. We're just going to have to do the clicks. Alrighty, so let's get to it here, everyone. We got more Scott Boras clients out there. So let's talk a little bit about some of these other players, these other bats that are still on the board. Now that Bellinger's off, you're probably going to start seeing some movement now with Chapman, who I mentioned. Got even some lower tier guys. Well, JD Martinez too. But, some lower tier guys that could be productive players for teams like Tommy Pham, Adam Duvall, Michael Taylor, right? JD Martinez and Matt Chapman are the Boras clients. But now I'm starting to think, you're probably going to start seeing some movement now that the best position player is off the board. Will we have to wait for Chapman to come off? I don't know, right? Because Duvall, Pham, Taylor, Rosario even, these guys are outfielders, right? So I don't think Chapman necessarily dictates what's going to happen with these guys. So let's take a look here. Let's take a look-see. So like I said, Chapman, he's the big one, right? Funny enough, Fangraphs, they projected a 4-year, $80 million deal back then. I don't know if I see that happening. I just really don't. I don't see him getting that. I think at this point, he's going to get something very similar to Cody Bellinger. Maybe he even just gets a 1-year deal, right? We'll see. For Chapman, if we're taking a look here at, some teams that could use him, I mentioned the Cubs. I still think if they're willing to spend the money, and maybe, if it ends up being the same type of pillow contract, maybe the Cubs are for it. But what you are going to be getting with Chapman is great defense at third base. We all know this. The bat was hot last year, but then it cooled off. And overall, the numbers, they kind of were pretty average at best, right? Hot start, cold second half, came out to this. Hit 240 with a 330 on base, a 424 slugging, the 110 WRC plus, 3.5 on the Fangraph WAR. The defense was a big driving factor behind that. So, we got a deal. Garrett Cooper going to the Chicago Cubs. Speaking of the Chicago Cubs, Garrett Cooper, ladies and gentlemen, is going to the Chicago Cubs. Now, I would actually think with Garrett Cooper, let's go back to the Cubs depth chart here. Garrett Cooper, who hits lefties well. Nah, Mantis, don't do that. Don't say who. Don't do that. No. Garrett Cooper, right, he's been with the Marlins and the Padres the last couple of years. So now he's a lefty bat. I would imagine he's going to probably do a lot of the DHing. So could this mean that Christopher Morel is now going to be more of that third baseman? And now they're going to use maybe Madrigal and Garrett Cooper at the DH spot. I like that. Right? So you get the righty bat and Garrett Cooper, right? Wait, did I just say lefty bat? Sorry, I meant to say righty. I'm getting myself mixed up. So I would imagine, well, now that I'm thinking about it, so righty bat. So you got Talkman, right? So I guess you could platoon those guys. I mean, it sounds like they're going to be just rotating guys in and out, and that's going to be the righty bat. But I would think, I don't know, I just feel like that's a lot of bats now. And is Chapman going to be a fit here? I don't know about that. Morel's been getting reps at third base. So I would think, and with how good his bat was last year, I think Morel is probably going to be in this lineup. So I'm guessing he's going to end up going to third. And then Madrigal probably ends up being the backup infielder. He's a non-roster invite? What? I just saw that he signed. Oh, it did say it here. Really? Non-roster invite. Interesting. I figured he would actually get himself a contract. Huh. Well, he wasn't really projected for a whole much, but still, Garrett Cooper is a guy, righty bat. He can hit lefties well. I could see him making the team. Well, we'll see. I mean, he's got to make the team. So, but either way, I don't know. Maybe, I see people in the chat saying he's just a guy, right? It's just Garrett Cooper. He's a decent bat against lefties. So, we'll see. Anyway, let's move on. But if it's not the Cubs for Matt Chapman, honestly, could he just go back to the Toronto Blue Jays at this point? 1-year deal, same kind of a pillow kind of a deal, right? You guys there kind of Falefa projected for third base right now. I mean, to me, that's kind of a guy that can move around. So we'll see. We'll see. I would still leave that open. But the popular one has been the San Francisco Giants, right? That was something I've been saying all offseason, and I've said this before. I feel like when I started saying it, like no one else was talking about Chapman to the Giants, right? No one was even thinking about that possibility. And I'm like, hello? Like, Bob Melvin's there. You could use some better defense at third base, right? So, you got a lot of guys here that are vying for at-bats. Like JD Martinez is now projected to be on the bench. So if Chapman ends up coming in here, well, then I would think, they're going to be doing a lot of rotation kind of stuff. You're still going to be keeping Lamont Wade Jr. So I don't see, him going anywhere, because Wilmer Flores, he's definitely staying in this lineup. So if Chapman's here, then I would imagine, I would think Lamont Wade Jr. maybe gets pushed to a bench spot. I mean, we'll see. But that would give the Giants a lot of options at that point. So we'll definitely see. As for JD Martinez, well, JD Martinez being a DH, he's not going to be playing any positions. He'll probably play an outfield spot one day during the season, right? Just like as an emergency outfielder, basically. I mean, last year he played 3 games in left field. So, you don't want him out in the outfield, but he could do it, I guess. But you're going to be seeing him DH. Now, there's definitely a lot of teams that I think could make some sense. I've talked about the Miami Marlins, right? You don't have Jorge Soler anymore. There was a report that he was willing, or let me make sure I have this right, that he did not want to go to the San Francisco Giants. The quote was he simply just didn't want to go there, right? No reason given, just didn't want to go there, right? We've heard, all the talk about San Francisco this offseason. The city itself, there's a lot of work to be done when it comes to, crime in the area and whatnot. It is a thing, right? And people can deny it if they want, but it's a thing, right? So they've been having a hard time over the years getting guys to go there. So proof's in the pudding, if you ask me. Either way, right? I guess there was a $14 million offer, and I guess there was something that he'd be okay with that price range, but he just didn't want to go to the Giants. Could the Marlins offer that? I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot. I mean, they just brought in Tim Anderson for $5 million. I'd say if you brought in JD, you got a pretty decent looking team. A pretty decent looking lineup, if you ask me. We'll see. We'll see. Not going to count out the Mets. They've been connected with him for a while. And remember with JD Martinez, go back to 2018 when he signed that 5-year deal. He waited until the end of February to sign. All right. So I'm not surprised that he's still out here this long. He's a pro. This guy, he's an absolute pro of a veteran guy, right? So it's not like he needs to get to camp right now. He's probably swinging in the cages at home, and he'll be good to go by opening day. So the Mets have been connected with him a lot. Honestly, I don't see how it would hurt them. It makes a lot of sense, right? You got DJ Stewart, lefty bat. He would be a good fit there. For a 1 year, maybe a 2. 1 year with an opt-out, or 2 year with an opt-out. I think that could make some sense. So the Mets, to me, I think would be a great fit. The Orioles, I won't count out. I will not count out the Orioles. I do think this is a good landing spot if he were to go here. Because you can just put Ryan Mountcastle at first and you can put JD at the DH spot. All right, Orioles are looking great, coming off a 101-win season. Would love this fit. Would love that fit. I think it'd be a great influence for these young guys coming up too. I think it makes a lot of sense if the Orioles would like to spend the money. The Angels have popped up as a possibility for JD Martinez. We'll see. It is a little crowded right now in this outfield. And then in the DH spot, you got Brandon Drury at DH right now. So, like Rengifo is at second base. So Drury, where does he end up going? You got Moniak out and right. Could you do something with matchups there? I don't know. If they wanted to make it work, I think they could. We'll see. And then you got some of these other guys out here, like Tommy Pham. 35 years old. He's pretty much coming in. He's going to get some at-bats, but he's coming off a World Series. He's a hard-nosed player. He's going to play hard. He's going to be good for your clubhouse. I see people out there saying, no, the guy's way too honest. He speaks his mind too much and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, Tommy Pham, that guy's a gamer, man. I think that's a pretty good guy to have in your clubhouse, if you ask me. A guy that's going to tell you straight up, hey, man, you gotta be hustling a little bit more out there. You know what I mean? It's come on. I think Pham's still going to be a productive player this coming season. He's 35 years old. We'll see, but he looks like he lost a lot of weight. I believe he said he lost 25 pounds this offseason or something like that. Michael Taylor, great bat with Michael Taylor. Or, sorry, not great. Not a great bat. Great defense with Michael Taylor. But 21 home runs last year. So he's going to give you some defense. He'll give you a little bit of pop. Let's see if he can match the 21 home runs. I don't know about that. So, and then, Andrew Lee, what good timing. We got Kike Hernandez. Looks like he's getting close to making a decision. The decision, everyone. Kike Hernandez, just like LeBron James with the Miami Heat. My goodness, Kike Hernandez. He was so good a couple of years ago. But there are some teams, right? He has been connected with the Angels. Let's see. I believe there was a Padres connection there. If I read that correctly, I think there were 4 or 5 teams that were in the hunt for Kike Hernandez. So with him last year, he was no bueno. He hit 237, a 289 on base, a 357 slugging, a 72 WRC plus. His defense was not great. The Red Sox ended up trading him to the Dodgers. He had a negative 1.3 Fangraph WAR last year. So, with Kike, he's a guy that's going to give you a ton of versatility. I think for the Padres, that could make some sense because with Kike Hernandez, he was an excellent center fielder when he was playing with the Red Sox, right? Then they put him at shortstop, and it just did not work out. He was not a good defensive. He was not an everyday shortstop for the Red Sox. He's a guy, you can put him at short here and there if you need it, right? But his best position, in my opinion, is center field. I'd be okay with that. Kike going to San Diego, right now they need outfielders. I think that would be a good fit, right? At the end of the day, Kike is going to bring energy into the clubhouse. I could see the Padres going with him or Michael Taylor. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? And then, they were connected with Jaron Duran there. That was hot for a little bit, but that seems to have cooled. You have Sal Frelick. I don't know if that is just done and over with at this point. We were hearing a lot of rumors. I even had a little birdie tell me that Jarren Duran and the Padres, it was cooking at one point. There was some movement there, and I don't know how close it got, but I had my little birdie tell me that there was something with Jarren Duran and the Padres. Again, I don't know if it was almost a done deal, but he told me, he went out of his way to tell me, like, hey man, there's something brewing with Jarren Duran and the Padres. So even Jared Carabas even confirmed that as well. He heard from his people. So it's not just me trying to, get some clout. I do have a couple of people that know a couple of things, and I don't get a whole lot, but I do get a little something here and there. But this would make some sense. Kike, the Angels, I don't know. The Angels, again, they just have a lot of things going on. So, I don't know. I would think JD Martinez would be a better get for them at this point. I like the fit with the Padres. I think they could make a lot of sense. So, Andrew Lee, your super chat, $1.99. Hey, I think you'd be a good fit for your Padres. We got another super chat coming in. John O. Henry. Is this John Henry, the owner of the Red Sox? My goodness. $10 super chat. Hey, Robbie, I don't have anything to suggest, but you're the only MLB guy I try to watch live. I'm an Orioles fan and just love your unbiased opinions and on takes. Keep up the good work. John, I really appreciate that, man. I really do. That's the one thing I try to do, right? Yes, maybe my giraffe neck Robbie can come out sometimes, but I always try to keep a level head, and that's the one goal with this channel, right? I'll have some fun with my Red Sox. I will get a little fun there sometimes, but I do appreciate you pointing that out. It means a lot, so thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. Let's get to it here, everyone. Let's get to it. So we got some other guys here. We got some other guys, but you might know them. We've been talking about them pretty much all off season. A couple of guys, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, they're pretty good, right? Cy Young winner, another guy winning a World Series. I got like 1 million tabs open, and I'm just trying to buy some time to close out all these tabs. I'm so sorry. But everyone, this is a good chance for me right now to actually present tonight's sponsor, and that is BetUS. So really quick, just diving into this before I do move on to the next stories. Right now, if you go to BetUS, you can. There's a lot of different ways to put down some bets to try and win yourself some money. As always, responsibly though. But right now, you got home runs for player projections, season awards, stat leaders, specials. Right? Who could make the 40-40 club? What will Aaron Judge do this coming season? You got College World Series futures, division futures, pennant futures. Teams making the playoffs, right? Regular season wins. I mean, the list goes on and on. Let's actually go see, since we were so heavy on the Chicago Cubs to start things off, let's see what BetUS is suggesting here for the Chicago Cubs. Right now, they're going 84.5 wins for the Chicago Cubs. I want to just have a little fun with this in the chat, if you can. Give me a thumbs up if you think the Cubs are going to get more than 84.5 wins, or give me a thumbs down if you think they're going to be under that. Let's see what you all think. We got almost 600 people in this chat. We just had like 40 people leave because this is the sponsor time, so some people don't want to hear it. But let's see. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down. I see up, 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 up. A lot of ups. I see one down from Baseball Owl, or AI. I can't remember what that is. So a lot of ups, right? So let's go here to the money line, right? So actually, really quick. I can't do that. Hold on 1 second. I got to log in, everyone. I got to log in. Hold on. Let me log in here. So let's go see what you would have to put down if you wanted to try and win some money on the Chicago Cubs going over on that win total. So right now they're at, let's go back here. Can't believe my buttons aren't working tonight. So if you go over on the 84.5 wins, right? If I bet $100, right? Well, you would have to bet more, right? To be able to, the more you bet, right, the more earnings that you could get, right? So if you put down $100, you would win $86, right? So basically the way to put that is it's for every $100 that you put down, right? That's where the negative whatever the number is. So if it's like plus 100, if you put down 100, you will win 100, right? So that's kind of the way it goes. So just in case anyone's sort of confused about how all this works. With the Chicago Cubs, let's actually see what the odds are to make the playoffs for the Chicago Cubs now that they have Cody Bellinger back in the fold, right? So let's take a look at this. So as of right now, the Chicago Cubs making the playoffs is negative 130. So if I put down $100, right, you would win $77 basically if you bet 100, right? So that's kind of the way this stuff goes, right? So definitely a risk. Is that a good value bet at this point? I'd probably say no. Let's see. Maybe the odds can change over the next few days or so. We will definitely see. But go check out everything else with BetUS. It's not just baseball right now that's heating up, right? You're in the middle of basketball season. You got hockey going on right now. You got golf, tennis, soccer, martial arts even. Whole bunch of different ways to play. Everyone, the link is in the description down below. You actually get a bonus on your first 3 deposits. Up to $2,500. You get a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500. Listen, I know this is the sponsor and everything, but that's not that bad of a deal if you ask me. I'm honestly probably going to take advantage of that deal myself. So go check it out, but please make sure you bet responsibly. So let's go take a look at our next story. Let's get to Mr. Blake Snell. And we even got a little video clip from Jeff Passan himself. So there's a little something when it comes to Blake Snell when we've had a little something with the Yankees, right? That's been popping up as of late. Still wants to, stay connected with that Angels team, right? We've been talking Angels here a little bit tonight. Could he make some sense for them? Could a surprise team emerge, right? But the one team we keep hearing with Blake Snell are the New York Yankees, right? But Jeff Passan, he actually gave us a little something here. And let's go take a look at what Passan had to say.
Wait, hold on. Before we let you go, quick prediction. Snell, Montgomery, Chapman, or Bellinger, who signs first?
Wanted to wait for a swing there to give myself some time. I think Blake Snell signs first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was wrong there, unfortunately. Jeff Passan, we love Jeff Passan, but he got that one wrong.
Okay. And that's the second out. Where does he sign?
The Yankees make the most sense. The Angels, though, they have made sense from the start, and I think ultimately it probably is going to come down to those two.
So he lists the Yankees, the Angels, staying consistent with that. The Yankees are really interesting, right? I'll touch on this just for another little bit. I've been talking a lot of Blake Snell and Yankees over the last week or so. The one thing that holds me back with the Yankees is the payroll, right? Whether if it's a one-year deal, a multi-year deal, it's a lot of money that you're adding to this, right? The luxury, you all see here, that 296. If you ever go to Fangraphs to look up payrolls, don't look at that first number. Go all the way to the bottom and go to the luxury tax payroll. So right now, luxury tax payroll is at $306.9 million. That is pretty hefty, if you ask me. Now, he would be great for this rotation. I mean, what a rotation that would be. But it just feels like more of a, no pun intended, it feels like a luxury at this point. You're already spending so much money, and you're going to owe so much already in luxury tax fees. It's not like, listen, if he goes to the Yankees, I mean, hey, good for them. I mean, that's incredible if you ask me. But it's holding me back, and I wonder with the Yankees, I wonder if they're being used as leverage here, right? Because the other team that's been connected with Blake Snell are the Angels. Remember, there was a report not too long ago that he preferred the West Coast. The Angels make a ton of sense. They need something at the top of their rotation. Listen, I like me some Reed Detmers. I do. I like Reed Detmers. I think he's going to have a bright future. Don't think he's quite there yet, but I think he could end up having a really solid season this coming year. But he's not the ace yet. I think Snell makes more sense for the Angels, in my opinion. You see a lot of people, the Yankees are always that, like, the fun pick, right? Because it's the Yankees at the end of the day. It's fun when they spend money, right? Because we know they have the money. It's very obvious, right? So it's fun connecting all these players with the Yankees, right? But when you're looking at the payroll for the Angels, right? Obviously, Ohtani is on the other side of LA now. Luxury tax payroll is at 188.4. They got tons of room under the CBT. They need pitching. It makes so much sense to go to the Angels for me. Obviously, the Yankees provide the better chance to win. That's obvious, right? So if Blake Snell wants to go somewhere to win some ball games, then yeah, go to the Yankees, right? However, if the Angels pony up enough years, and if they give the money, enough money, right? If they can come to a common ground when it comes to the AAV, I still think he could end up getting a long-term deal. We'll see, man. I wouldn't count out the Angels at all. Because, again, it's like the one thing with the Yankees, too, it's not that you have a massive payroll this offseason. You got a massive payroll for the next few seasons. And you got to figure out something with Juan Soto. And there was a report recently, I believe, was it in Bob Nightingale's article? I can't remember exactly, but the Mets are expected to be a huge player for Juan Soto. So, I don't know, man. I think the Yankees, they need to do what they can to hang on to this guy. Absolutely, they should try to hang on to Juan Soto for the long term, right? He hit a home run today. Hit a bomb. Keep that guy in pinstripes for the rest of his career, man. I'm just saying. But you got to figure out something with Juan Soto. You do got a lot of arbitration guys coming off the books, but you're locked in with Judge, Cole, Rodon, Stanton. There's not a whole lot of money coming off, right? And you got to figure out Soto. So, yeah, the Yankees, they've been dropping some money, but are they going to go even further for Snell? I don't know. I just, something with me just doesn't fully see it. And Bob Clappish of NewJersey.com, he even is thinking the same thing, and he's hearing the same thing as well. The Yankees aren't budging on Blake Snell, so get over it. Pretty good title. So he actually talked with one of his insiders, and he wrote about it in his article, saying, for the fourth time this week, I called my MLB insider who's plugged into the Yankees. I've been asking the same question. Anything new with Snell? I asked. Didn't we just have this conversation? He said, nothing's going on. But I keep hearing, you keep calling, he interrupted, and I keep telling you the same thing. Snell's not happening. That's what I honestly think that, man. I really do. I think, it's, I don't know. I just think it's too much of a luxury. I think it's too much. It's just too much, right? Like, because you already have, I keep hearing, people say about the Yankees rotation as well, that it's still missing something, in my opinion. And everyone wants to point to Carlos Rodon. And I get it, right? Last year was basically a lost season for him. That was a huge waste of money. But it's still Carlos Rodon, and you're still paying this guy a lot of money. Do you immediately, would that be good business to just, because to me, when you're bringing in Blake Snell, you're basically admitting the Carlos Rodon contract was a bad move, right? To me, I think Rodon, who's looking healthy this spring, seems to be good to go. I don't know, man. Like, this is the guy you brought in on a big deal. Bringing in Snell basically tells everyone, yeah, that contract stinks. Why did we do that? All right? Maybe other people won't see it that way. That's how I see it, at least. You just brought in Stroman, of course. That was the pivot from Snell. They offered $6,150. He said no, probably should have taken it. And then you brought in Stroman, right? Clark Schmidt, Nestor Cortez. Sure, could you add some more depth? I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying Blake Snell's a depth piece, but I'm just saying that's going to push everyone down a spot. So, I don't know, man. I just don't see it, and I think, honestly, it's being used as leverage at this point, because the one thing you have to remember is teams are not allowed to say they're not interested in a guy. They're not allowed to say it, all right? It's something with the Players Association because it can decrease their value and whatever. They're not allowed to say. So, you could have Scott Boras out here saying, oh, yeah, Yankees. Oh, yeah, they're connected with Blake Snell. Oh, yeah. Definitely a good fit for the Yankees. But the Yankees can't come out and be like, no, like we're not interested in Blake Snell. They're not allowed, right? So he can just keep manipulating this as much as he wants, but I don't think teams are buying it at this point. And to me, the team that makes the most sense are the Angels, right? I think Jeff Passan said the team that makes the most sense are the Yankees. I completely disagree with Jeff Passan. I think he's great at what he does, but I disagree with him there. I think the Angels make the most sense because they have more money to spend. They're way under the CBT. They need an ace at the top of their staff. I don't know, man. I just think that's what's going to happen. And Mark Feinsand, he's had a couple of misses this offseason. He was reporting this past weekend that the Angels appear primed to land either Montgomery or Snell when all is said and done. I don't think Jordan Montgomery is going to go to the Angels, right? We'll talk about Jordan Montgomery in just a second, but his wife is in Boston. He's been working out in Boston. Well, now I think he's in Florida now getting ready. So anytime if a team's ready to get him signed, he's ready to go. But he's been in Boston. His wife is doing her residency, I believe, at the Boston Hospital, right? And I believe she's doing it through Harvard or something. I'm not quite sure. But that's been that's been there. So I don't see him going to the West Coast. That's just me. I don't know. We'll talk about one clip that I'll get into that in just a second. But in my opinion, I think Blake Snell makes way too much sense for the Angels. I think the Yankees, honestly, at this point, I think it's just, you got to remember it's the media too. The media, they like to push, especially with the Yankees, right? Because the Yankees, they're always going to be the hot topic. Anytime you can put the Yankees in a headline, people are going to click the crap out of that, right? Because it's the Yankees at the end of the day, right? They're not going to be pushing, the Angels, right? Because Angels, it's not the Yankees at the end of the day. So, but out of everything that we've heard this offseason, West Coast preference, the Yankees pivoting to Marcus Stroman after the 6/150. Their payroll's through the roof. They don't got a whole lot of money coming off the books. They got to worry about Juan Soto. It makes the most sense to me for the Angels to emerge as the suitor. Let's see what kind of a contract, though. Will the Angels get themselves into a 7-year deal with Blake Snell, 6-year deal? I don't know. I think the Angels, they're trying to, the way I sort of see the Angels, how they're being this offseason, the lack of moves, I think, honestly, they're trying to play things a little bit smarter instead of just trying to just hand out 6-year deals, because these deals always end up biting them in the hiney. So I think the Angels, they're just waiting it out as much as they can. And I think the Yankees are being used as leverage. I think they're just being held on as long as possible to try and get the Angels to come up on price. That's what I think personally. And then after I just said all of that, he's probably going to sign with the Yankees tomorrow, isn't he? My goodness. So let's move on here to another guy. Now, if the Yankees weren't going to get Blake Snell, there's another guy that's out there. And he goes by the name of Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease. No, I see the super chat. I am not forgetting the super chats. I saw someone said there were a couple of super chats. I am not forgetting the super chats this time. Not forgetting. I do see those. I will get to those in just a second. I just want to finish up this part with the Yankees. So right now, according to Bob Nightingale, the Yankees would prefer to trade for Dylan Cease instead of Blake Snell. This is another hint that the Yankees are not in on Blake Snell. And I think we need to start coming to terms that the Yankees are probably not going to do it for Mr. Snell. because now Dylan Cease is popping back up again. My goodness, could we actually see Cease get moved? Goodness gracious, man. However, they're at a standstill because the White Sox want Spencer Jones. Now, I don't know if anyone saw Spencer Jones. I think Spencer Jones went like 5 for 5 today. Did that end up being his final line today? I think he went 5 for 5. But did anyone see the home run that Spencer Jones hit over the weekend? Dude hit a tank. Look at this. I mean, my goodness. Where did that one even land? That was just a moonshot. Good grief. I mean, it's not the best angle, but you can just tell, like, the launch angle on that is just insane. He hit, I think it was 470 feet. And after a good game today, 5 for 5 between the two games. That's what it was. So, Spencer Jones, man, this guy is not going anywhere, in my opinion. I don't see it. Now, if we were to go to baseball trade values, let's come up with a trade. Let's do the Yankees. Let's do the White Sox. Right? So, Dylan Cease, we've talked about this before. This is nothing new. Right? You're looking at around $40 million in value for Dylan Cease. Right? It's going to cost you a couple of pieces at least. At least, right? The report was that the White Sox, they've been looking for multiple top prospects, and with the Orioles, they were looking at a few guys. There was Jordan Westberg was popping up, and Heston Kjerstad was popping up. And the Orioles didn't want to budge with those guys. They pivoted to Corbin Burns, and that was that. We've seen the Reds, right? The Braves were one in the very beginning of the offseason. That didn't happen. I had a birdie tell me that was pretty close. So, didn't happen, right? They wanted the Braves were offering guys like Shawver and Elder. They were offering Vaughn Grissom at the time before he got moved to the Red Sox. And either way, the White Sox, they were holding out for as long as possible. So, it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of good fits out there for well, I don't say there's not good fits, but teams that are willing to meet anything close to what the White Sox are offering. The Reds were also a destination that was possible. So with the Yankees, right, their big piece is Spencer Jones, right? If we go take a look here at the Yankees' top prospects, let's just go take a look-see, right? Baseball America, right? Well, Jason Dominguez, in my opinion, I think he's graduated at this point. But Spencer Jones, number 2, as of right now. You got Pereira there. You got Roderick Arias, Austin Wells, Chase Hampton. So you have some guys. All right, you got a couple of decent pieces. I believe Chase Hampton is in the top 100. Spencer Jones is in the top 100. I feel like Everson Pereira is not in the top 100. Let's actually go take a look. Is Pereira in the top 100? I can't remember. I don't think he is. I can't wait for this new computer, everyone. I cannot wait. It's going to be the best thing ever when I get the new computer, because my computer is as slow as a snail. All right, here we go. Top 100. So let's go to the Yankees. So if we were to take a couple of top 100 prospects, oh my goodness, I'm going to flip out. Can this please load? All right, so yeah, Pereira's not in the top 100. So you got Dominguez, but he's not going anywhere. Spencer Jones at 84. I feel like that could be a little bit low. Roderick Arias, but he's far away, so I don't know. Is he really enticing to the White Sox? And there's Chase Hampton. That would be interesting. I wonder if they could get something done with Chase Hampton. You did just part with Drew Thorpe, so I don't know if they would want to do that, but we can put something together. Spencer Jones, if they're willing to part with him, yeah, that would definitely close up the gap in terms of value. You put him in, you throw in a couple more pieces, and yeah, you probably got yourself a deal. But the Yankees don't want to give up Spencer Jones. So could you do something without Spencer Jones? Well, the one idea I came up with, you could start with Clark Schmidt. That is a major league ready piece that can go into their rotation right now. I mean, since you're getting Cease, maybe that could open up the possibility of Clark Schmidt being moved. So, I don't know. But that's something. That's a young major league arm that has a ton of control that you could throw back. You know, if you were to put one of the top 100 prospects, you could put Chase Hampton. Maybe you could put Oswald Peraza. He would probably get more playing time in Chicago. You know, could you see something like this? Schmidt, Hampton, and Peraza? I mean, I don't know. I think with the Yankees at this point, man, would you really want to give up Chase Hampton after giving up Thorpe? I don't know about that one. I don't know. But we'll definitely keep an eye on this. Bob Nightingale saying that the Yankees are more interested in Dylan Cease as of right now. Let's say the Yankees are actually in the ball game for the for Blake Snell. Could this be leverage on part of the Yankees to try and get Boris to maybe come down a little bit? Like, nah, we don't need Snell. We'll go, you know, we want Dylan Cease, right? So, Scott, don't worry about it. So, who knows? Maybe there's a bit of a cat and mouse game going on right now. We will see. All right, let's get on to another Scott Boras client that's out there. Another Scott Boras client. Everyone, wow, we're at 273 likes. We demolished our goal for tonight. Wow, thank you so much for that. We got to 250 likes. Can we get to 350 by the end of the show? Can we get to 350 likes? I think we could. Why couldn't we? I mean, my goodness. Here we go. Let's talk a little Jordan Montgomery. Shall we? And like I said, right, we just saw the report from Feinstein, so the Angels are primed to get either Blake Snell or Montgomery. Again, I don't think Montgomery is going to go out to the West Coast. Could I end up eating my words after saying that? Yeah, I've definitely eaten my words a lot. But I don't know. I have a feeling that Montgomery's probably not going to go to the Angels. We all know the perfect fit. We all know it. I don't need to tell you anymore. I've been saying it for weeks, months. It feels like years at this point. The Red Sox make the most sense. I don't know how many times I have to say it. I don't know what else I need to say. I don't know how else I need to word it. It's even getting to the point now. Where, yes, I see the super chats. Yes, we're going to get to the super chats, right? It's getting to the point now where you're getting people coming out from, like, behind a rock where, like, no one was saying at all that Jordan Montgomery was not a good fit for the Red Sox. Now, all of a sudden, you got, like, these people on Twitter. They're like, oh, Jordan Montgomery, he's not even that good. He's not even going to help the Red Sox. Like, I'm like, who are these people? Are they bots? I don't even know. Everyone in Red Sox land on Twitter, I honestly think a lot of these accounts, like the accounts that provide the news and everything, I'm honestly starting to think, like, is pushing the negativity is that just part of the plan? Like, are we just trying to get the engagement? Like, what are we doing, right? Because it's been nothing but negativity all offseason. And I understand, right? There's a lack of moves. But you have to remember, who's the man that's behind a lot of these guys? Scott Boras, right? People think Scott, like, how do we not know this by now? Scott Boras is running the show, right? I mean, people think it's so easy, like it's MLB The Show, like you can just type in your offer, you can up your offer, right? And then that interest meter on MLB The Show, like, keeps getting higher, and then they end up, like, accepting the contract. It's not like that, right? We need to start getting away from that. But Jordan Montgomery, getting back to the main point, yes, he's the perfect fit for the Red Sox. And we've talked about the Cubs, right? Now that the Cubs have brought back Bellinger, is Montgomery still going to be an option for them? We've seen the Phillies. But the Phillies, they've been connected more with the Zach Wheeler extension. So is that going to happen at this point? I don't know. Like, I thought the Phillies were a pretty sneaky sneaky team with Dave Dombrowski there. I mean, we were seeing that, these reports out there that they're, Boris and Montgomery were willing to do like a 1-year deal for a team that was, probably a bit more in a competitive, a bit more, have a better chance at winning than the Red Sox, right? That he would rather go to one of those teams on a short-term deal. Well, the Phillies are dealing with Zach Wheeler. The Astros already have a record payroll. They brought in Hader. That's someone they've been hinting at wanting to add some starting pitching. But is that the kind of guy they're looking for? I don't know. I mean, you got Jose Altuve, or he's a Scott Boras client, so, they definitely know each other. So, I mean, he could stay in Texas if he wanted to, if, maybe the Astros wanted to work something out, but they already have a record payroll. So will they want to keep going? I don't know. So those are the two teams I was wondering about. But we're not hearing any noise. I don't know. Right? And now that you've seen with Bellinger, all along the Cubs were the perfect fit for Cody Bellinger. Right? And, before, yeah, sure, Giants, Blue Jays, right? But they made moves and they took themselves out of the race, basically. Ended up going to the perfect fit, the Chicago Cubs. It feels like the same thing here. Perfect fit with the Red Sox, right? I honestly think, getting back to that point about him wanting to go to a contender for like a 1-year deal, or he would rather I've even seen comments out there saying he would rather go to like the Chicago Cubs or a team like the Chicago Cubs could even make more sense. But it's like, but the Cubs, are they really that much better than the Red Sox at this point? I mean, I'm not trying to be biased. I'm really just trying to look at it from a rational point of view. I think the Cubs, you could say maybe talent-wise, probably a little better than the Red Sox, but are they that much better to where they're going to give you a chance to win a World Series? No offense to the Cubs, but I don't know. Are they there? So I don't know. We had a report. I mean, it's even gotten to the point where, before I get to the report, it's even gotten to the point where you even got Mike Lupica of MLB.com even writing an article saying Montgomery is the perfect fit, right? Because the Red Sox, for the most part, have had a quiet offseason, minus a few different moves with Chris Sale, some lower level signings, right? Bringing in Liam Hendricks. Obviously, Lucas Giolito was the big signing, right? So they've made a couple of moves, right? But yeah, he makes the point that if the Red Sox are looking to make a move, this is the move they need to make. Now, I want to get to this article here from MassLive.com, all right? This was written by Chris Cotillo and Sean McAdam, right? I made a tweet about this article not a couple days ago. I need to find the quote. My goodness, my computer is killing me. My computer is chugging along, everyone. So they made this quote in this article here. Sean McAdam says here, here's what's known about the Red Sox and free agent Jordan Montgomery. As a matter of course, an industry source said the Red Sox have maintained contact with Montgomery's representative, Scott Boras. But even this late in the process, Montgomery's asking price has not dropped to the point where the Red Sox could fit him into their budget, which has been in place for some time. Okay. Let's look at numbers real quick, right? This is something I need to say. Okay. The budget, right? We don't know what the budget is, right? But we have seen Sam Kennedy say that they expect to have a lower payroll than last year. Last year, they finished at $225. How much lower? I don't know, right? Probably doesn't want to go above $225. That's the way I took it. Right now, the Red Sox payroll for 2024, Fangraphs, please, for the love of me. Here we go. They're at $202. So if you're looking into the budget, about fitting them into the budget, if they don't want to go above last year, $225, well, that's $23 million. Sorry, Jordan Montgomery is not getting $23 million for 1 year. Jordan Montgomery for 1 year, you're probably looking at anywhere from that $25 to $30 million range, all right? I highly doubt, but that's dropping to $23 million, just to fit him within the budget, which I think is under 225. I don't know. I don't understand like this quote. His price has not dropped to the point where the Red Sox could fit him into their budget. With where their budget is right now, he's not going to fit into the budget if they want to stay under 225. So I don't understand that quote unless you traded Kenley Jansen. So maybe it's possible they could have something lined up. But the reason why I think this quote is in here, because these guys, Sean McAdam and Chris Cotillo, I'm catching on to their act a little bit. It's negativity, 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 constantly, over and over. And they keep pushing this word, budget, because they know it ticks people off. And they keep using this word. And it's buried into this article, which had something to do with like other, it was talking about other things around the Red Sox pitching, like with spring training. And they buried it into this article, and they knew that people were going to clip this and they're going to put it all over Twitter. That's how they get the clicks on this article, right? That's how they get their clicks. This is what the media does. This is just, it's so textbook, because especially nowadays when people with the engagement accounts on Twitter, they go read these articles and they clip the juicy part that says budget. And that budget word is like the worst word on the planet right now for the Red Sox fans, right? But again, you're not going to drop his asking price to anything that's even going to fit in their budget unless you traded Jansen. So that's what I understand. And there was another part about this article that really kind of annoyed me a little bit. This one. For Montgomery, the attraction of signing with the Red Sox would be family related. His wife, a dermatologist, is serving a residency at a Boston hospital, but the lure of a far more lucrative deal elsewhere would likely override that. Do you know their personal lives? Like, do you know anything about Jordan Montgomery or his wife? What an irresponsible quote to put there, in my opinion. But the lure of a far more lucrative deal elsewhere would likely override that. Now, if you had worded it to where you said the lure of a more lucrative deal could possibly override that, but you said would likely, right? Making it sound like that was probably a set in stone thing. That is just, it's Bush League journalism, in my opinion. That's not good journalism. And it's ridiculous, right? That needs to be fixed, in my opinion. Don't like that quote, because you know nothing about Jordan Montgomery. You know nothing about his wife. I understand money is money, and yeah, but like, hello, she's serving a residency to be a doctor, right? To be a dermatologist. So she's just going to drop her goals in life? I don't think Jordan Montgomery would want to put her in that situation. I'm not trying to, I don't know, like that. It's like, who are you to say anything like that? You don't know these people. I don't know, just an irresponsible line, in my opinion. But these guys, I'm catching on to their act, and they just seem to just constantly keep pushing negativity because that's what gets them the clicks, right? I mean, who knows, right? I mean, I don't know what they know. I don't know, but that's the way it comes off to me, at least, and that's my opinion, right? For Jordan Montgomery at this point, I think the Red Sox are simply waiting him out. They're waiting out Scott Boras, just like the Cubs did with Cody Bellinger, right? They're looking to get a deal that is more favorable. If you go look at past contracts with the Red Sox and Scott Boras, JD Martinez was a good one, but they waited him out. That's the blueprint. You wait out the Boras clients until you can get him to come down, and then you meet somewhere in the middle. Maybe you even go a little further into the Boras territory in the negotiations. But you got to be thinking here, Boras is probably asking for a lot, right? Now, let's actually go see what a Jordan Montgomery contract would look like, right? Let's go see this. So right now, on baseball trade values, right, you can go look up projected contracts, right? If you have the subscription for the year, you can get 10% off if you use my code HYDE, right? So Jordan Montgomery. So taking a look at what his contract would look like, let's say it was a 3-year deal, right? Here's the thing with the Red Sox. I actually don't think it's the money completely. I think it's also the years, right? Because Boris clients over the years, there's not really been a lot of long-term deals that have worked out favorably when the guys are in their 30s. You know, younger guys like, Alex Rodriguez, for instance, the first contract he got with the Texas Rangers, that one worked out. All right, that was a pretty good contract overall. All right, I got a video coming out this week where I talk about some other good contracts with Scott Boras, right? So, but I wonder if the Red Sox, for a guy that's in his 30s, he's a pitcher, I wonder if the years is also something. Not necessarily the money. Yes, the money, the AAV is a factor, but I think the years too. Right now, Baseball Trade Values is projecting $29.5 million per year for 3 years, right? So overall, $88.5 million. My guess, Scott Boras, remember Boras was looking for like $250 for Cody Bellinger over probably like 8 years or like 10 years or something like that. So he ended up getting, so what was 80 divided by 3? What is that, 26 million? So that 26.6 million. Probably was looking for 30 plus for Cody Bellinger. They got him to bring it down to 26.6. Boras is probably looking for like 35 for Jordan Montgomery, and the Red Sox are like, yeah, we're not doing $35 million for Jordan Montgomery. Not going to happen. So they're probably trying to get it down to more something around this, right? 28, 29, 30 in that range. My guess, I am speculating here, I wonder if maybe they have a deal lined up for Kenley Jansen, but they're waiting to see if they sign Jordan Montgomery. Because if they can't, you don't necessarily have to trade Kenley Jansen, right? You can just keep him, and he's in the back end of your bullpen. I think if they sign Montgomery, my guess is they trade Jansen, right? But they won't trade him if they can't land him, Montgomery. That's what I think. That's what I've been thinking here this entire time. I don't know, right? We will see how this ends up going. I think ultimately, I'm starting to believe that he's going to end up in Boston. I'm knock on wood there, right? But unless the Phillies emerge, Astros, I don't see the Cubs at this point. The Rangers are basically out of it. I just don't see him not landing in Boston, right? It just seems pretty obvious at this point, and it seems like anytime we hear any sort of negative speculation about it, my guess is it's probably stuff being fed to these people, which Scott Boras does, and it's used as leverage. I said a lot there, and I feel like I rambled and repeated myself like a million times. I hope my message came out clear. I just think the Red Sox, simply put, are waiting him out. They're waiting for the years to come down. They're waiting for the money to come down. I think he ends up with some kind of a short deal with either some opt-outs, maybe some options. We will see. All right? Jack Hoover, maybe the Orioles could emerge too. It depends if they want to spend the money, right? I know you got the new ownership, but does that mean they're going to go out and spend money? All right? I don't think the Mets, right? The Mets, they've had, obviously the Kadai Senga injury, but they made it seem pretty clear. David Stern's saying that they're probably not going to add, right? So we'll see. I don't see Montgomery being a pivot for them personally because they're looking towards the future. I don't know. That's just me, everyone. I know I rambled there a lot. I'm sorry if that got old, but those are my thoughts. I'm going to wrap this up here. Everyone, thank you for stopping by. I'm actually going to get to the couple of super chats that we had here tonight. And let's get to those here. I got those pulled up. I was not going to forget the super chats, everyone. Here we go. Alrighty, so Joe Hill